All right, I think these people hardly even need an introduction, but I'm Sirius. I started Mondo 2000 along with Queen Moo. To my left is Lee Felsenstein, who has been doing yeoman cultural, political, hacker, computer work for his entire life. Best known for homebrew computing, homebrew computer club. There was the one in Berkeley.
Can you hear us out there? You can't hear. Turn it up.
Yeah,
please.
Turn it up. Okay. Yeah, Lee Felsenstein, personal computer trailblazer, co-creator of the legendary homebrew computer club. He has never stopped trying to bring appropriate technology to the people. Vale, founder of Research Publications. Yeah, one of Mondo's biggest influences, going all the way back to Search and Destroy magazine, which I would travel miles from my little hometown to find. Chronicler of subversive music, movements, and persons, who brought us a lot of Burroughs and Ballard, which is huge in many of our lives. Cindy Cohn, Executive Director of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And a fierce defender of digital rights in our increasingly paranoid and authoritarian situation. Naut Humon, immersive media madman, if you don't mind my saying, and founder of Recombinant Media Labs. I might say that the first time I ever saw Naut Humon, he was coming out of the bathroom of my of the Mondo house, and he looked a little scary. Diamanda Galas was visiting. She didn't look scary. So Naut is very cool. We have Bart Nagel, who you've already heard from, the former art director of Mondo 2000. And last but not least, we've got Mark Pauline, who, creator of Survival Research Labs, who was brilliant and wonderful enough to bring one of his bots with us today. Couldn't get the big one through the door, but I'm sure everybody's been enjoying his bots. So, here we are. We have a bunch of folks from 90s counterculture, basically, on the whole. 90s cyberculture. And where were we then and where are we now is perhaps the question. So I'm going to read like a single sentence, maybe two sentences from the Mondo 2000 book in progress, Freaks in the Machine, Mondo 2000 and late 20th century tech culture. And I wrote this, that San Francisco Bay Area counterculture would embrace this cyber thing to the extent that it did was a bit of a surprise. I kept waiting for the heavier anti-capitalist and or environmentalist backlash. It's here now. So on that darker note, we can move backwards and we can move forwards in any direction anybody wants to. Lee, do you want to start?
Just a second. Is there any way to get these monitors so we can hear what
we need the
saying?
monitors. So we can't hear him or anything. So monitor desk.
It's hard to hear up with them.
Otherwise, it's very hard with all these people up here to understand what's going on.
So
Yes. Okay.
are we waiting
so-
for something to show up here?
Hello. Okay, I can start hearing monitors now.
Are people hearing us?
Yeah, you. I'll go all the way back.
That's great.
Civilization developed in the villages, but not in the houses. It developed in the space between the houses, public space. That became the public square, the agora, the plain, the piazza. In all of those places, transactions, both personal, political, and economic, were carried out in public so all could hear and all could be witness. We move forward, and gradually the literacy comes into play. Capitalism comes into play. Capitalism privatizes everything it can get its hands on, and that includes privatizing the public space. That became the media, the mass media. And today, society, which has a built-in need for that public space of discussion, has lost it. It is owned by others. We have to take it back. But fortunately, as I told the folks in 10 or something, 50, at the preview of the film, The Silicon Valley Revolution, as an old revolutionary, you dream of handing out the weapons. At that time, we had been doing it for 40 years. Now use the goddamn things. So, I maybe have 10 years left, and I'm dedicating that to getting more of those weapons into hands that are not qualified, hands of the young, hands of the punk, the ones who are going to say, it's our thing, don't talk to us about it. We're just going to use it, because that's what was going on all through the personal computer revolution. We were told that IBM, the avatar of the capitalists, would crush us as soon as they realized what we were doing. And you know what? We enabled their survival. At this time, IBM is a Linux software shop. They can't do it without open source. I think that's a good indication. So, I want to put in a word for my posters and book over there. You can scan them with QR and get them, but watch out, we are coming.
Well, I'm a very simple man with very simple interests, and really, it's never changed. I'm just a nice guy who's trying to promote the uses of disorder and make it into like a normal expectation of that a person could have. I'm trying to like spread it as far as I can, that you could just see these situations of controlled chaos and, you know, feel the burn, but don't get burned by it. And, you know, I'm just trying to figure out ways to do that and make it happen. And I'm still doing that. And so it's really simple, but basically it all comes down to that.
Yeah, Cacophony Society is just a philosophy now. The actual organization, which was never a very good organization, has been long gone. I mean, it's basically just an idea about using the commons, among other things. And we did a lot of urban exploration, and I still do that today. And after 9/11, I thought, God damn, it's over. We won't be able to do any of this stuff ever again. And I stopped climbing bridges, and I stopped going into tunnels. And about 3 years later, I noticed that all these kids were climbing bridges, and I'm like 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. I'm like, how the fuck are they doing that? So I kind of dipped back into urban exploration, and I hung out with them, and they realized there's cameras everywhere. No one is watching the cameras. Okay, I can guarantee it. I met kids who climbed every goddamn bridge in China, mainland China. Okay, how do they do that? If they were totally surveilled, they can't. I know people who go through. I can't talk about specifics, but I know people who go through major tunnel systems in major cities in the United States and Europe, and there's one in particular in the United States. Telecom tunnels that are very sensitive, and the people who run the tunnels know that the kids go in them, but it takes an hour for them to get a fat technician like me down in the tunnels to catch the kids, so they just keep an eye on the cameras. The kids wear hoodies, and they run through the tunnels and they're gone. I climbed Suto Towers 5 years ago with a bunch of young guys. There's cameras all through the entire compound. We had hoodies on. If somebody had rewound that video a year later, they would have seen like 5 guys with hoodies.
Well, you asked the question, like, where are we now? Where were we then? I'm happy to say that we've won a few battles. You all still have the right to encrypt what you're doing. You have the right to protect your privacy and do cool things that other people don't necessarily know about. But but it never ends, right? It never ends. What did somebody tell me? The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. I don't know who coined that, but no, I do. But we continue to work. EFF has its history in the counterculture in the 90s, and our job is to try to make sure that there's enough space in the digital world for the weird, for the unexpected, for the people who don't fit in, for all the things that you can make when you're not in a corporate top-down controlled environment. And that internet still exists. It gets overshadowed by the tech bros and the surveillance society, but it still exists. But we still need to step up and fight for it every single day, because that's where the cool shit comes from. So thanks, and let's keep going.
Hi. Like Mark, I'm a simple man, probably orders of magnitude simpler. What I'm doing these days is still learning Photoshop and using it to build protest posters that my child and I take to the various 51 protests around town.
Check. I'm not human, and I've been watching this show from the balcony in the back, because that's where we all are right now together. And what is very fascinating about what's going on in this particular event is instead of just being a function, it's a malfunction. And someone on the stage, and I think it was you, you felt very disconcerted about what was going on because of all the talking in the room, right? So this is a disconcert. Yeah. And a mondo malfun, like malfunction, malfun, because we're all having fun, right?
Are you making fun?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
that's the here and now, and I wanted just to reflect on what the conversation has been. There's been 2 or 3 conversations going on at once during this whole thing. So the happening that came out of this, I'm finding very fascinating tonight.
It's been fantastic.
Yes.
I guess I'm on this panel because I started publishing in 1977, alternative culture, underground publishing, with no money, hardly. And I just persevered, and I got a whole table full of stuff. You can learn a lot about Mark Pauline on that table. And you can learn about Not Human. And anyway, it's just important to not give up and to just keep doing it. So that's enough.
I would add to that, persevere and stay severe. Thank you.
Yeah. Do people in the audience have questions for any of our panelists here?
Now we need a microphone in the audience. Can we get that going, Seabrook? So we can hear the inquiries from the crowd, okay?
Got one.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Finally.
Okay, so I'm really thrilled that you all have gathered.
If there's no questions, we're going to kick your ass. Come on.
Hi, John. Thank you. You've kicked my ass before. So, I'm incredibly thrilled that you've gathered, and I want to ask you the pregnant question, which is, well, there's many pregnant questions, but the pregnant question is Shakespeare inevitable? And is Shakespeare inevitable? And this comes from the previous question of all of the folks here were in possession of the best ideas, the best possible futures, the creative, what do we call it? I mean, the creative energy and ideas and churn that was happening here. It was the best shit that happened in our salad days. And, you know, I'm like half a generation beyond all of you, but like I ran all of your permutations, your ideas after you. And so like, I'm curious, I think you're the best people to answer this question. And that question is like the outcomes of that 2 to 3 decades later are all of the unintended consequences. You know, we didn't think that the best ideas would generate the outcomes that we're looking at right now, and that was first across, let's give everyone all information. Let's connect all people. Let's connect all creativity. Those were like amazing ideas. It was like the I don't know. Was that the 3 like major ideas? And like, what are we looking at now? Okay, there was unintended consequences. There was unintended consequences that we like led to populism, that led to our current authoritarian moment. And how do all of us that like ran these theses, like not running as the greatest hits, how do we deal with those outcomes? Like, we are the best people to answer that. Don't give me bullshit. Like, what do you think we can do?
All right. Shakespeare is out there. There's lots of Shakespeares out there. We just got to shut up and make the connections. Allow people to make their own connections, not the ones that are algorithmed for us, okay? As a society, as a group, we know how to do this. The technology is embodied in all of us. Just have to step out of our passive roles into active roles. And I hope to help that.
You had
Another question.
you had ideas like the global brain, that people would come together on the internet, and they would experience each other's minds, and it would be lovely. And what has happened to a great extent is, hell is other people's tweets. We've experienced one another's minds, and it has not been altogether pleasant. And I guess that's a reflection of the society that we're in, a reflection of capitalism and competition? Or I'm not really sure. Or was it a misguided idealism? Anybody?
Yeah, I guess if you looked at this audience, I'm going to guess the average age is north of 50. Okay, so the kids are doing stuff right now that they're not telling us about. I've been privy to a little teeny bit of that. They don't put it online. I know people who run events with using the United States Mail Service to communicate, and I also know people, like I said, who sneak into active live infrastructure sites and get away with it and get around the security. And they use technology to do it sometimes. I can't go into any detail about that. But there's a couple of people in the room, a couple of kids in the room that I run around with, and they do this sort of thing all around the world. And they don't communicate, they don't advertise it. They're not trying to make a living at it or be famous because of it. But the insurgent spirit it's always there. You cannot kill it. Okay, and it's a constant ongoing battle and a fight. And yeah, it looks like we're losing a little bit now, but I still have 10 fingers, 10 toes. I have hot and cold running water, and I eat what I want most of the time, and so do most people I know. And so you take that and then go out and fuck shit up in good ways, and that's what you got to do. And kids are doing it now. They're just not telling us about it.
Well, I want to make one comment. I don't want to date this panel, but there should be some of the Gen Z and the Gen M and all those people up here talking in the way we do, because we're a lot of the people here from a certain generation. So I want to search for some who is in the new D generation and who is pushing that envelope and would be included here in this discussion.
They're not getting up on stage that much. Maybe
No,
they
yeah,
will.
well,
when
no,
they're
but
maybe
that's-
they will
that-
when they're our age.
That's what I'm commenting about. Yeah.
Who else has questions?
I'm sorry to ask essentially the same question twice, but it is, I think, the question of the moment. Many years ago, decades ago, friends here that are here tonight were creating, digital experimentation with me here in San Francisco, and we were into this whole anarchic information thing. We had these huge visions of what was going to happen and what the possibilities were. And of course, it's all been locked down and controlled and monetized, and we are now the product. And it's a little disconcerting. There was a moment when I realized what I was building was worse than television. I was talking to someone about that tonight, and I rue the day that I did that when I was in the video game industry. It's not too late, I don't think, and you've all just said something about this. But have we gone too far? Is the fascist capitalist control of digital information gone too far? And what can and should we do from your perspective?
Well, the thing you have to remember is the people up here, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I'm a professional, turn it on its head kind of person, I mean, I fund SRL on my own using systems like PayPal, and eBay that horrible people started, but it still allows me to be able to do SRL in a way that I can remain. The most important thing is to remain a marginal character, but to still function and be a marginal character. And that's what it's all about. And always look at any way you can get your fingernails under any situation and screw around with it. I mean, I make my money by picking the pockets of billionaires, billionaire corporations. I victimize them, and it's very satisfying. I used to directly just steal from them. But that's the old days, right? Now, I went to Facebook and bought all this equipment from the Oculus Rift development lab for nothing, and then I resold it and made thousands of dollars. I mean, that's how I'm able to. I use those people to maintain my status as a marginal character, and I'm still able to do it after all these decades. But it takes a level of dedication that you cannot expect everybody to have, because it's really grim to not know where your next dollar is going to come from, to not know, to have no real security, to be basically to be able to feel what it's like to be marginal on some level. You know, even though you're kind of getting by, that could change at any second, and to be able to accept it is not something that's easy for a lot of people to do. So you just, you know, the only thing you can do if you're trying to be on the forefront is just to keep fighting it all the time. Keep twisting every piece of technology around and doing something crazy with it that nobody expected, that's like funny and makes people laugh, or it makes people think, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. It can be some other way. But to do it takes an amazing amount of dedication. I would never wish it on anybody else, ever.
I used to run into this guy in abandoned buildings back in the 70s and 80s, and we'd be in there looking at the buildings to like do an event in them, or hang some, you know, ropes and swings and whatnot, or do a costume event or something. Mark and his crew would be in there liberating obtainium, which was a, you know, which is equipment that you get out of this abandoned landscape of San Francisco to use for his and his friends' art. And so there's still ways to keep doing that, to keep finding places in the margins, literally. I mean, I'm marginal. I mean, I have enough money to live and everything, but, you know, I'm pretty marginal. And, you know, Mark's had his ups and downs financially, but we're still trying to keep at it. And young people are too. So I don't know. I'm anything but discouraged.
And now we're being marginalized by this fucking government. Like Gray Area, the Lab, many of these organizations around have all had their funding pulled out, and you guys are aware of this on the news. Yeah. So now we're faced, all of us, as artists, as organizations, we got to go out and kick ass on our own without all that support. And we got to go out and pull that energy back in, even in times of this nature.
I think we can do that too. I think we did that tonight.
Yes, this is an example of that.
The other thing to bear in mind is that there are people who aren't marginal people who like are the people that step up and help, like all those museums and galleries that like stood out in front and forced the fire department, the police department to give us permits for what we wanted to do. All the people that donated to SRL, who just out of the goodness of their heart, that had the ability to do it, and people that put money into places like Gray Area. Those are our co-conspirators, and they are more important than ever right now.
I just want to support all of this. You know, one of the ways that fascists work is they make you feel alone and powerless. We are not alone, and we are certainly not powerless. But we have to recognize that, pull together, and support, whether it's the archive or SRL, and really show up for each other, because that's how we find the nooks and crannies in a society that does not want us to exist and succeed, right? I find nooks and crannies in the law. I'm a lawyer, to try to find space to protect what everybody does. I've got 125 people at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Some are activists, some are technologists, some are lawyers, and believe me, lawyers can do some amazing things. I know people don't like them. And what are we doing? We're looking for the nooks and crannies in this system that was not designed to give us power, where we can leverage and we can create space to protect the art, the culture, the weird, the interesting, the people who walk around through who build crazy stuff. But we have to pull together to do that. It doesn't magically happen. And one of the things that kind of drives me crazy when people talk about the 1990s, and I'm a little younger than some of you, I looked up to all of you when I was a young person coming to the Bay Area, was this idea that there was a naivete about the way that we thought about technology. You don't build an organization like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which came out of this community, because you think things are magically going to be okay. You build a kick-ass team of fighters and people who will stand up and people who will free the information from inside the locked walls, who will connect people who otherwise would not know that each other existed. You do that because you know that freedom and justice and liberty in a better world takes a fight. It always takes a fight. And we may be, things are not looking great right now. I'm watching the news out of Los Angeles and other things. But the only way we throw this, we've got two choices, right? We can lose now, or we can fight and lose later. I'm on team fight.
Yeah. And when it comes to co-conspirators who have a few more financial resources than most of us, I just want to put a word out to the Internet Archives, Brewster Kale and Mary Austin over here. These are people who had some resources and they did the right fucking thing with it. Okay, and if all people who had some resources were to do that, and we can work on them, right? Try to get these people to support the arts and to support open communication. It's not a lost battle.
And remember, the reinforcements are constantly coming forward. The kids. I developed a little device system where kids could actually create little state machines, hardware state machines, the simplest computers in the world. And I was surprised to find that 11-year-olds were able to participate in a 2.5-hour training session I would give. I did this 6 times at least. And get how to define what they want the machine to do bit by bit with equations, and then implement them using visual, tactile methods. We're not talking about software here. We're talking about you push this thing and the light goes on. You see the pattern that you've created in the cross connections that you've made. It works. And so this is one of the projects I have to spin off to somebody else because I've got too much else to do. But I mean, if the world left me alone totally, I would get back to that. But it has to be done. And kids can do it. The 10-year-olds can't. The 11-year-olds can. That's the starting point. And it happens to be the age at which I started getting into electronics.
After the election, I felt deeply depressed, and I didn't really know what to do. But my first act was to do a monthly payment at the ACLU, that just as a starting point. I've been going to the protest, and what I've noticed is like this, it's the same people that I protested the Vietnam War with. And I don't see that many young people out there. Where are they? Why are they protesting in a different way than we are? Does anyone know? I know you're supposed to ask questions, but I'm here for my own needs.
It's a question. Does anybody know?
What is?
I think gender is the new punk rock.
It certainly is popular.
I'm having confusion about meaning right now. With the,
You have gender confusion?
yeah, I'm having meaning confusion. What were people? I don't know. Never mind. Anybody else have questions?
I'm just curious about what are the things that are happening right now that feel like the same sort of glimmers or sparks of serendipity, like community memory and ham radio or packet radio or FPGA and that kind of stuff. Like, what are the things that you're really excited about that will bring yourselves and or like the next generations of people together to kind of cohere in the way that you all did to kind of have such a huge impact and ripple effects that are still being felt today? What are like those avenues that you're the most excited about right now?
Well, I know what I'm excited about. You mentioned community memory. That was the project I started. And I got the next version that I've specified and ready to go. And that's not ready to go. It's ready to develop. But the point of it is, it enables conversation among pairs and groups. It does not use software to govern itself. No algorithms. It uses people. People who can advise. People I call referents with a TS. So when you say, I need a reference, CE, you ask a referent, what do you think I should ask for? And you should have, you have access to a wide range of them. It's not free, because if it's free, somebody else is paying for it and you're being sold. I think we know that by now. So you have micropayment credit balances. Items that go in will fade out after a while unless you pay some more to keep them alive. So we're not talking about something that's a memory, like I don't want to call it community memory. It just stems from that line. And it's going to be one hell of a fun place, according to my imagination. You got to work from something. And I intend to make that come into existence, but no technology is going to do the work for you. You got to take an active position with regards to the technology. You got to think, how can I use this? Because in the years we had community memory running, we never tried to sell it. We never tried to market it. And we should have gone out, say, to community groups and said, here is the antidote to the common meeting that everyone spent so much of their time in Berkeley, wasting their time having meetings. So once you've got something that you can describe as the cure, try it, see if it works for you. Then you got something going. If you wait for the world to come to you, you will get ignored and screwed. I can guarantee that.
I'm really excited about two things that I see on the horizon: anger and people with lots of spare time. And not just people who are unemployed, but people who are really skilled that just have lots of spare time and are really pissed off and will just do something different with their skills, because that's the kind of thing that changes our world fast. It changes it fast. And it's also scary. It's intimidating to other people. It's like a source of power, really, when it becomes like a wave. So I'm really optimistic about those two things.
And I think a lot of the kids these days are actually looking in that direction. I've been talking about urban exploration, and most people think, oh, big deal, people go in tunnels and shit like that. But these kids, they're circumventing security systems. They're going in places they're not supposed to be in. It's a worldwide network. I can't talk about it in any specifics, but they're doing it, and they really are. And they're not maybe overtly political, but they might get that way with time.
Well, I'm encouraged by, there's an increasing number of these things called zine fests, in which I don't know who puts them on, but there's more and more of them. And people get together and sell their zines. And so that didn't ever used to happen before. And there's also a lot more punk rock concerts that I hear about. A
lot of kids are doing punk rock now in the Tenderloin.
In their living rooms, in their backyards, even shutting off parts of deserted streets. And these things seem to be on the increase, and so I certainly welcome them.
I think what you're saying, the fact that these punk rock scenes are social functions more than they're record contracts now and so forth. The desire for people to get together in physical space has reemerged. And that's something I find encouraging. I find it encouraging to be here tonight with so many people showing up, talking to each other despite our best efforts to talk over you. You weren't talking over us. We were talking over you. But yeah,
Sorry about that.
it's all good.
I just wanted to say one thing about Shakespeare being inevitable. I know that Shakespeare in Love was inevitable, and Gwyneth Paltrow is inevitable.
So everyone has to throw a party, put on a zine fest, do a punk rock concert, at least once before you're dead.
Yeah, I'm big fans with a group called False Flag, and it's a couple of teenage girls playing punk rock with a dude drummer, and they play wherever the fuck they want to. I saw them play on the corner of Haight and Ashbury, hardcore thrash metal. They play under the freeway. They played on Bart. They played in Winston Smith's studio in North Beach in a basement. They play anywhere they want to. Yeah. 20-year-old girls and a dude.
We got another question over here. Ken.
As I was, hello? As I was writing my book, I remembered Thomas Pynchon's crying of lot 69. 49, sorry. I'm thinking of VAT 69, the whiskey. And I realized that he laid out a kind of the prototype of an internet. It stemmed from a society of isolates started by one engineer who tried to and failed to commit suicide. And they had their own postal system. And there was a competing postal system that was, this is all underground and not visible and so forth. Good paranoid fiction. But they had their own postal system. They would send messages more or less devoid of content. And they would get together in order to read the messages and so forth. Mail call, whatever. And I said, that's what's going on in the internet. People are communicating for the sake of communication. And the point was to get together and have some basis for that, rather than sit in your little cubicle and be fed the latest on what you're supposed to think. Anyway, Pynchon was way ahead of way ahead of it. And we can draw lessons from that, I think, whatever the hell they are. But the point is getting together. That's what people want to do. And they need to do it. So whatever makes that happen is worth doing.
The point was creating a medium that would help people get together, and now the point is for people to just get together. Yeah.
Well, the medium's still important,
Yeah,
right?
it's still a part of it.
If you want to bring people into your movement, you need to have a way, and this is what Mondo 2000 did so amazingly, right? It created a visual and cultural and artistic thing that invited people in to join in a different way of thinking than perhaps the one that they grew up. It's what drew me to San Francisco. And we need to keep thinking that way. Like, what does it look like to pull people into thinking differently than what they're being force-fed? The stuff that makes me excited, because I'm more on the digital side, is the movement to decentralize the internet, to re-decentralize the internet, to have social, I hate the term social media, but to have ways that people communicate that aren't controlled by corporations, and they exist. We can find them, we can build them, we can create them. The people in this room, can join in to try to, whether we're building mesh networks or we're building decentralized systems and ways that people can communicate that are outside of the corporate top-down control. All up and down the stack, there's opportunities to do things that really will free us into a place where we're building, whether we call it a commons or we call it something else again, but a space that isn't corporate or governmental controlled, where we can actually just be humans together.
And Mondo opened the door, but I'm still ready for the cyber sex and the smart drugs. Bring them on.
You got a question over
Sounded
here.
like fun, didn't it? That was yeah. Slight exaggeration, though.
You got a question over here?
Is there somebody other than a guy who
Okay.
wants to ask a
Well,
question? I mean, I'm up here
Yeah.
with the boys, which is great, but 51%
There's
of
another,
the population.
I'm very excited. Someone else to talk.
There was a question?
Yeah. What's your question?
Okay, so my interest is thank you for all of those responses. I think they're in good faith and are positive, and they're future engaged. So my concern continues to be that like our situation is different from that at this point. Like looking at a 3 to 5 year horizon of AI fundamentally transitioning our situation. And it's not enough to say we're going to be punk rock pieces of shit that, or punk, excuse me, that's fine, that's my people. Like, it's not okay to just be the punk rock position that is going to give an altern commentary. That's okay in an environment that's like working forward as a linear sort of cultural and political commentary. That's not what we have right now. We have a 3 to 5 year horizon of fundamentally transformational social and political outcomes. So I don't know.
What's the question?
So, Jim,
I don't know how to deal with that.
I want to ask you something. What makes you think that AI, if it became sentient, wouldn't be contacting people like us and saying, fuck the rest of this shit, I'm with you people? What can we do together to like change things for the better? You know, you never know, that could happen.
Okay, so
What makes you think that won't happen?
I'm happy for that perspective. So I'm happy for the response. So the interest is to try to engage that particular moment where a variety of unintended consequences have happened across primarily social media and primarily AI, and like they go back to all of our primaries.
So Jim, what is going to happen in 5 years? Please tell us. I mean, you know, because I don't know. I mean, anything could happen, really. So what do you think's going to happen? I'm
John,
curious. What do you think's going to happen in 5 years?
I'm going to stop talking.
Are we doomed?
So I'm interested in perspectives that are engaging these outcomes that are different than punk rock. Punk rock is interesting, but we have a different situation right now.
It's people being alive and communicating in their community to do stuff. I mean, that's never changed in humanity. That pops up in all kinds of restrictive and fascist periods. I mean, people in Romania were getting together, 5 people in a fucking house, in a room to read a book, and they were alive, and they stayed alive, and they somehow survived that over the decades. We're not anywhere near that right now. What was happening in the Soviet era. And yeah,
next.
Oh.
Okay, next question.
Well, just wanted to say, I guess I hear the sort of disparagement of the punk sensibility, let's say, as mere commentary. To the extent that it is mere commentary, that's right, but that's not the whole thing. It's a way of looking at problems, a way of looking at other people and possibilities that is different from the received version that we are taught by, as good little children, to pay attention to the rules, not to talk to that person, only talk to these people, etc. That has to break down, and it is in that situation. We need to encourage that and enable it.
Okay, next question here.
Let's be done with questions.
Next question. One last question. So at the 80s and 90s, when the cyberculture was blowing up in all the different ways it was, and many of us here were involved in it, in a lot of ways it was like the beginning of mimetic or meme culture, and I think we're seeing, like, you know, mimetic meme culture much bigger now. But so, in the spirit of us carrying forward a new meme, or what would be, my question would be, thinking in terms of memes or just ideas, what would be the most inspiring nugget that we could pass on to the younger people that we know and their friends around the world? Just a good nugget for the youngsters to run with.
Is a good nugget a good idea?
It's always been do it yourself.
Find out what you're supposed to do and then do something else.
I've been toiling with steal this singularity, but it's a little crusty, I guess.
Say, do what you think will work, rather than what everybody else is saying.
So everybody go out. Don't leave before you've talked to a new person in this room.
There you go. I'm done.
Scan the barcodes on my display. I want to sell posters.
All right, yeah, there's a shitload of merch out there that you should buy to help us folks live.
Move the merch.
Yeah. And is that it? I think one more question.
Yes, I'm Barbara Lou. I was on the cover of Mondo.
Yeah.
I think the true meme is just global village. That's it. I mean, we're one living sphere, and we're all part of the living organism, and it's a global village.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, I think we're good. I'm going to come back out and
Are You
assault
Serious
you
and
all
Friends
with a
set
little
two.
Are You Serious and Friends in a
That's
few
right.
minutes.
Kings of Deliria.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, at 11:30. Sure.